That was back when we were still kind of like, ZVZ, you know, which newbie caster wants to take this one? You know, take it over here, you get this one. And now, while ZVZ might be a little overdone, thanks to these two, it is one of the best matchups that we do have. So always excited to see these two go against each other. In the bottom right, as the red Zerg for Clash, he is Reynor.
And his Finnish opponent in the top left-hand side in the blue, representing ENCE Esports, it is Serral. It's very thoughtful for both players to decorate their bedrooms in the color that they're going to be playing as today. I really appreciate that Serral's in a blue bedroom, and Reynor is apparently playing from inside of the Kenny Rogers Roasters.
I guess you could say that Serral's room is blue. I would have called it just an off-white, but
okay,
close enough.
You know.
Yeah. Well, little bit of a change up here on the openers, but really just like the tiniest little bit, so I'm not even sure it's worth discussing. These guys obviously have a lot of respect for each other. They know how good each other are at every single aspect of the game. Reynor seems like to be a little more spiky, but not as in like, you know, there's these mountains that appear. He spikes up, he never spikes down, right? So you say spike, you usually mean a little inconsistent. Maybe it's an off day. That's not what I mean, but Reynor seems to just go up like really, really high at a couple points and then goes back down to just being really, really effing good. Right. Serral is pretty much consistently always really effing good and a little less on those spikes. And that's where it feels like Reynor gets him. Right? Like Reynor gets angry that he's losing to Serral or that he's not considered the #1 Zerg. And that's when he goes super Saiyan and defeats Serral. And that's what makes this such a cool matchup. Serral's like a bit more dependable, but Reynor always brings the games and is often winning against Serral too. Not as often, but often.
You know, and I don't want to generalize too much because I think StarCraft players' mentality can be very different than many other sports. But this is something you see mentally in not just StarCraft and not just esports, but in sports across the world, that younger players have a bit more of like an aggressive mindset, a bit more of a spiky mindset. And while they don't have the years and years of practice to be stable or as stable as some other players, what they do bring is like this intense competition and this intense, as I said earlier, there's fire in their belly to really do amazing work. So I think it's not just a tale of, you know, Serral, who's been around forever, but also a straight up of age, in that Serral, a slightly older player, just has a little more experience under his belt and is going to play it a bit more of a stable way. But like we said, so much respect on both sides here. I don't expect anything too crazy to happen in the early game. Honestly, all series CG. I think these guys are going to go toe-to-toe.
I think it'll be very close, but I do anticipate at least 1 or 2 different builds, a couple of all-in thrown in that'll like barely work out enough to make it a macro game. You know what I mean? Like I think that's what's gonna happen.
Oh sure.
Yeah, already happening a little bit here with some different openers, but Reynor just I think we can really he's a little more flashy, but it's not that he doesn't have any substance. He just is also kind of flashy sometimes.
Of course.
So sometimes the I guess more exciting builds. So for a while there, it was Reynor always going Ling Yuta, for instance, compared to Serral, who was perfecting the Roach game. This is a bit of a bummer. Serral actually does not bother going into the main base. He already saw enough of what he needed to see. It's going to be that +1 missile. It's going to be a Roach Swarm, but also a lot of Lings. And if he had not been producing any Lings on his own, he would want to now. He actually cancels his 3rd hatch because he can't produce Lings. He skipped speed.
Oh,
do that.
Serral. That's a big cut. That's a big corner cut to get those roaches out just a little bit more quickly. Now, +1's going to be a +1 missile attack actually going to be finished up for Reynor before it is for Serral. That's a little surprising. But honestly, ZG, I don't see Reynor getting a lot done with these early Lings. I think that's just going to slow him down a bit. But it's put the pressure on Serral now, honestly. And overall, it's paid off for it. Something I wouldn't have expected earlier. Forcing that cancel on the 3rd base is huge.
Yeah, exactly. It did what it wanted to do with the cancel of the 3rd hatch, and is going to be able to control the game a little bit more. So I love that it's actually already panning out like I was kind of describing, which is Reynor's being a little bit flashier. He loves his Lings. He's always going to be known for Lings, even if Serral can do the exact same stuff all the time. And he is the one that actually bothers going for Ling speed. Now, that's probably going to be it for a while on the actual production of the Lings, as Reynor is with the +1 missile going into roaches. But Serral is adding on one of the faster spires you can really get in the situation. I guess, well, actually his 3rd hatch would be done if it hadn't been canceled, but it's still one of the faster spires you can get. Reynor, I guess the question is Reynor going to actually hit any +1 timing attacks? Because then that's when things get a little bit questionable for that spire play. Doesn't look like it. He's actually building drones.
Yeah, he's certainly taking his time back home, looking at saturating that third base up. Now, Reynor, I don't believe has spotted the Spire yet from Serral at all, so he does need to get that information very quickly. There we go, that Overseer will see it eventually. There we go. So now he knows, and we'll see if that changes Reynor's play up at all. But for right now, he's just working on saturating that third base, getting Roach speed up, and maybe, what is he going to do, ZG, to respond to the Spire? Add on some more Queens and maybe just Spores and hope it all works out?
That's a good question. I think that is his only option. As much as Reynor would usually want to be the Muta player and would be maybe even eager to play a Muta versus Muta game, it's just a bit too late. It's already a bit too much dedication to his own Roach game. If he was going to go Spire, he maybe could have played around with the Corruptor Roach attack that we do see. Actually, is very powerful type of play, type of counter if you can get to it. But without that being slapped down, Reynor should just be getting those extra Queens, couple Spores, and playing into the later game. So now we look on Serral's side. How much is he really going to dedicate to the Mutas? It doesn't seem like a whole lot. Enough to gain map control, but ultimately he's going to go back into Roaches and his own, Hydra, Lurker, what have you, actually. It's probably going to even up here.
This has been an incredibly passive early game here. 5 minutes in, and we've seen that's our fifth Zergling of the entire game going down at 7 minutes. I know games at 7 minutes that I've seen before, ZG, where 100 Zerglings have gone down by this time. So both these guys really taking their time to sort of get a bead on what their opponent's up to. The Mutalisks from Serral out, heading across the map now. The Hydralisk den for Reynor just finishing up, but he is not going to have critical mass of Hydras to drive these Mutas back. He's got to hope his Queens are in position.
Yeah, well, he should be fine. I mean, seeing that it is only 5, not even 7, not 8, probably gives him a lot of confidence that it is going to be going into a Roach game. You don't want to be tricked into going to pure Hydra, and then suddenly they have maxed out Roaches, right? That's always going to be a bit difficult.
Right.
So, yeah, you usually want to get into more Roaches, deal with the Mutas as lightly as possible, and then move on into, as I was saying, like a more regular ZVZ. But Reynor is starting to add on some Hydras. He's also getting a lot of technology. And if Serral was just going pure Roaches right now, Reynor could have been in trouble. But Serral, I mean, he's adding on Roaches. He also, is getting to a fourth base, his own infestation pit. It doesn't look like he's really going to be moving. I hope he moves out, actually, but it doesn't really look like he's going to.
Yeah, the time is nigh for Serral to push across the map and get some damage done. It looks like that might be what he's going for here, breaking down some rocks, giving himself just a little bit more of an attack path. These Mutalisks, by the way, staying so active from Serral, which I love. If you're going to invest in even just a few Mutalisks, if you're going to make them pay off, you've got to get a bunch done. Nice scout from Reynor, slipping those links in, sees the Hive tech starting up. That's a really nice timing there. But nicely done by Serral anyway to get those Mutas on the map. And now Serral finally, as you said, ZG, is going to try and press his advantage, try and push across here. And Reynor, because he has no creep spread and his Overlord's been pushed back by those Mutalisks, is not going to see this coming until, well, he's already in position. He's not going to see it coming until a little bit later.
Yeah, he's got a unit over there, so he knows a little bit about it. I think Serral maybe could have hit a, before Lurkers might have been a bit better, but he also would have been only 20 supply up. Now he's 30, almost 40 supply up, so we'll see if the Lurkers really can't hold in a choke. They're going to be weak against those Corrosive Vials, so Reynor has to be microing. It's a delicate position for Reynor. This is what I was kind of trying to highlight. Serral, if he just maxed out on Roaches, is going to have more units, even though Reynor will eventually have higher tech. And Reynor is desperate to hold. He knows it'll pay off in the long run, but the Lurkers, they're not quite even getting the shots. He could still lose his fourth base and hold, and maybe that would be okay. But I think Serral actually wants to get something done, something a little bit more. The Mutas are not helping out. They're not bothering to. As he jumps on top of the Lurkers, he really wants to get them down with the Corrosive Vials, but Reynor is doing a great job of playing whack-a-mole. He's continuing to pop them up and move them over.
Yeah, some really nice micro lurker there or lurker micro from Reynor rather. Hasn't lost a single lurker yet this game and is now adding on a Viper as well to help push some of those units out of position with the blinding clouds. Really well done by Reynor, I think, to save all those lurkers, and he's going to need to continue saving those lurkers though, because Serral's not letting his foot off the gas. Look at this pressure, rotating from the fourth to the third and continuing to trade fairly efficiently. If we look at the resources lost tab, I'm pretty sure it's going to be way in favor of Serral.
Wow, Reynor even feeling very confident. His Lurkers are helping out a little bit, but not as much as you would really hope, so maybe that was a bit of overconfidence there. His Roach numbers did not actually compare. He still needs the help of the Lurkers, or even the Hydras behind his Roaches could have helped out. The, army sizes are getting a little bit more similar. +1 Kerberos finishing up for both parties. No upgrade leads there. It's actually just about the tech and having those Lurkers in position, which I think Reynor is now good to go. I mean, it's still only 4 Lurkers, but he now has all these Roaches to also combat the movements. One Lurker does go down. Oh, the hatchery finally goes down. Too a little weak from earlier on. But as I was saying a minute ago, I think it's okay if he loses the 4th hatch. It's just that Serral, I think he's finally happy he finally got it.
Yeah, definitely. Serral's been poking that down for quite some time now. Now, behind this, Serral's got a 5th base, which is really rough, actually, for Reynor, who's only on 3. Not just, of course, for the income, because the drone counts are roughly even, but because, of course, for that larva production. And Serral going to need a ton of larva if he's going to stay on this Roach Ravager push for a while. We finally see Serral grabbing his own lurker den, but Reynor's going to be way ahead in not just the lurker count, he's at 3 lurkers already, but he's also going to be ahead on seismic spines, which he's got started up, and then hopefully those adaptive talents soon, which make the lurkers a little bit more of an aggressive unit than just a defensive unit.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Blinding clouds can be good. Abducts probably even a bit better if Serral can get them exactly. Abduct on 1, and then a 2, and then a 3. Oh, maybe a blinding cloud instead, actually, as lurkers jumped on him from behind. Good defense there, but Serral's also taking damage to the left side and actually has nothing defending against the Roaches of Reynor, so he also loses his 4th base. Serral's trying to get a cancel or at least a couple of drones in return, and there's action every which way, but everything is eventually getting cleaned up.
Man, CG, it's almost like these two guys know how to play StarCraft. It's almost like that. Goodness gracious. Serral finally going to retreat now to what was his 5th base, now his 4th base, and Reynor now has the opportunity to double expand, rebuilding his 4th base, which is already up, and that 5th base there at the bottom 7 o'clock position. So well done by Reynor. He ate a couple drone deaths during that push, but again, he had a drone advantage at the beginning. So now Reynor's going to have a slight income advantage. I think if we look at the income tab, we'll see that maybe Serral's ahead for a little bit longer. But as soon as that 5th base pushes up, we'll see Reynor back on top, and he's in a really good spot, actually. He just needs to get that adaptive talents done and maybe try and keep Serral back home. I think positioning is going to become a really important part of this game from here on out.
Absolutely. Who's better with Lurker Viper? I mean, usually we say Serral is the best, but Reynor is trying to actually win this engagement, taking out all the Vipers, a trade on the Vipers for both party. Serral had so many of his Lurkers off to the left, actually defending against this exact Roach attack, which is why it's so much smaller, but has lost track of the Roaches, now going to take some drone damage. Going to retreat to deal with that, but that's as Reynor pushes forward. He sees, I guess, a lack of Lurkers with the main army for Serral, and he really wants to push his advantage, but Serral just has a little bit too much. Also replenishing the Viper count, finishing up his finally lurker spine so they have that extra range. But ooh, Reynor, I mean, this actually might be a really good fight for him. Like, where is the rest of Serral's army? His lurkers actually went for an offensive attack. That's a bit of a bold move there.
That's a very bold move there. I think that might have been just some miscontrol there from Serral. Pulls the lurkers back immediately. Oh, he's moving them back in now. I have no idea what Serral's trying to do with those lurkers for 3rd base, but now that, as we said earlier, now that adaptive talents is down for those lurkers, they can burrow a lot more quickly, and that turns lurkers from an almost exclusively defensive unit to a unit that can be very scary on the offensive because they can burrow and reburrow so quickly. So we see both players scrubbing in a ton more Roaches and Ravagers, but really the lurker count from Reynor is what I'm most afraid of right now.
Yeah, he was about to get concaved on, so he recognized that too. Serral finally was able to collect his army together. I was like, he has an army, where the hell is it? And he finally collected it a bit more together, said he was defending on multiple fronts. He's going to grab a couple of lurkers. He had faster reinforcements of his Vipers as Reynor had lost most of his, and now even a bit of a chase on the right side. It looks like Reynor has cleared up all of their lurker harassment, which really did not pan out. I think he was, intentionally doing it, but then got distracted, so didn't really end up being worth it, and turned this game a little more awkward for Serral. But as he finally pushes Reynor back, he also gets a chance to breathe. We've evened things out, 5 bases to 5, only a 4 worker difference, and yeah, good old-fashioned lurker Viper, right?
This is wild. I want one Hydralisk to go over to that bunch of Overlords at the 9 o'clock, and it'll just be like a carnival game. He'll just be throwing darts at Overlords, trying to pop them like balloons so that prizes fall out of them. That'd be optimal for me, because Serral is supply blocked right now. If he loses all those Overlords, that could be really crippling. You'll have to get into some laser level Overlord builds to come back with that. The Hydra's working up the last Mutalisk, and now we see Reynor pushing up again on the left side. And oh man, come on, fellas, clear out those Overlords. Get him, get him.
I don't know why Serral's had that there. Like, that seems like a big mistake. They do have Overlord speed, so it's not gonna be that bad. And Serral did just overmake his Overlords because he got supply block, so it's not that bad. But it was so funny seeing it there. I kept on looking at that like it was another army too. So I, as a caster, am glad that finally has moved on. Yeah. Now we get to focus intensely on the fight to come. Lurkers being grabbed off to the right. On the left side, we have Reynor just running into the army. Massive corrosive vials almost hitting the Vipers. But it did good dodge away from Reynor. Where are his lurkers? Reynor actually has 0 lurkers. He's going for mobility over those high-tech siege units.
Which is a really interesting tech rotation, right? Normally that's not something you see. If sword players go to lurkers, generally they want to stay on lurkers for as long as they can because the investment, lurker den, seismic spines, adaptive talents is so huge. But we do see, as you said, Reynor popping out just to Ravagers, going for mobility, but Serral's going to strike back here at the 4th base, and it looks like Reynor might be under pressure again. Oh, he's going for the flank. Serral might lose everything here. Uh-oh.
There's a little bit of a question mark for Serral there. He didn't really have his own opportunity to flank, to be honest. Now his Lurkers burrow, but the Viper abducts on everything, on the Lurkers, on the other Vipers, going all crazy. Is a Blinding Cloud. I don't know whose Blinding Cloud that is. There are a bunch of Blinding Clouds on the map, and they do affect each other. A bit of friendly fire can happen in those engagements. That was definitely awkward, but also at the end of the day in favor of Reynor. Neither one of them with that much of a bank. Every base does count, and Serral came back in with the army that was supposed to die in the first place to capture that 4th base as Reynor denies Serral 6th. Serral's going to be looking for a little bit more, but also looking to buy more time. He wants to remake those Vipers and those Lurkers.
Man, and look at what he's doing here. Serral on 9 Lurkers, adding on 7, or he was adding on more, sorry, now up to 9 Lurkers to just the 4 of Reynor that are currently hatching. So a little bit of a Lurker advantage for Serral right now. And even though the upgrades are identical for Serral, Reynor's working on +3 Carapace, which should make a bit of a difference when these two armies finally engage. But this many Lurkers, once Lurkers get up to a critical mass, they're just so difficult to engage into Zombie Grub. Your army just turns into pink mist so fast.
I do indeed. I'm starting to like Serral's like Lurker count and Hydra count, right? But his Viper count actually is a bit weak. As I was pointing out, there's not much bang for either one of these guys, so...
Right.
You know, whenever they lose a base, like, it's so much more important about that gas usually. Reynor is starting to accrue a bank. He's taken the last couple of fights, so that's, like, really quite scary because he can afford to take a bit more risks, lose a couple more Vipers, and he has 8, so he really can lose a couple more. And he's also going to jump ahead on an upgrade. Now, the +2 might not matter if all the Lurkers are burrowed, but it could matter in some of these closer fights.
Yeah, if the Roaches and Hydras are up against each other, there may be a couple extra seconds, and that's definitely all it takes, as anybody who's ever played ZVZ knows. Nice position here from Reynor. We'll be able to snipe the natural of Serral if he focus fires it, I hope. Focus fires it. If he focus fires it. If he focus... Okay, thank God. He gets the natural. There we go. But there's pressure on all fronts now right now as Reynor moves into the 1 o'clock base as well. His army is split up quite a bit, and Serral just doesn't seem to know what to do. He's paralyzed right now, Zombie Grub.
He's trying to chase after the army in the main, but he really needed to keep this base alive off to the right, as well as his drones. No burrow to try and save them. His Overseer's there anyways. He left a couple of Lurkers behind to hopefully, you know, deny this access for Reynor, but Reynor was like, I'll just Blinding Cloud them. There's only like 3 or 4 of them anyways, so that really wasn't going to be enough. Serral is not winning these fights. He's trying to get this composition that theoretically can just hold places and win out fights when he's down in army supply, and he's not. He's constantly out of position, up against spellcasters that Reynor is using very, very, very well. And Serral is straight up losing this game, and I don't see how it gets better. The fight's just not been going his way.
No, he's lost too many drones. He's lost too many bases. Look at his bank right now. Serral is under 100 minerals, whereas Reynor's up over 1,000, floating 2,400 gas. Reynor's been maxed out for quite some time this game, and Serral's really been struggling to come back. As you said, I liked what Serral's army composition was a while ago, where he had a lot of Lurkers and a fair number of Vipers, but Reynor has just been keeping things really solid, and his engagements have been a lot more impressive than Serral's so far.
Yeah. Now adding on his own Lurkers, maybe trying to hit more of a killing blow. Serral has an army off to the right side. He's hoping to cause a little bit more chaos and get some revenge, tear down Reynor's economy a little bit, which he might be able to do, but Reynor could lose a couple of hatcheries and still be okay, especially because he has so much gas in the bank, and he has that middle left base with the rich Vespian Geyser. But Serral finally strikes back. Something is happening that's a little bit different. Maybe opens up an opportunity. A couple drones go down as well as Serral just simply evacuates. I mean, that was something, and Serral's bought enough time to at least get close to maxed out, but he's literally mining off of 2 bases and can't really afford a 3rd one.
Yeah, he's definitely in a tough spot, but there's a reason, guys, that Serral and Reynor is a legendary matchup, right? These guys don't quit, and they keep going. Nice engagement here from Reynor. His Lurkers are all going to stay alive in a nice concave, and he's going to snipe off all the Lurkers there for Serral, and even though these Lurkers will get cleaned up, this is a huge, awful engagement for Serral. We talked about Pink Mist earlier, and that's going to do it, CG. Serral dying at the bottom of the ramp, and Reynor from Clash Gaming grabs game number 1.
Ooh, Serral is very upset about that. Oh my gosh. I mean, I know Serral doesn't take any loss lightly, right? You know, and there was that pretty epic face cam where he let the queen slip by and let the lings run in. But that was actually such a straight up good fight, good battle. That Reynor did eventually just look better in, and maybe that's the most frustrating thing. I guess for a guy like Serral, it's more frustrating to lose to a straight up macro game than it is for like one tiny kind of silly mistake. If it wasn't Serral, I'd say this doesn't bode well for the rest of the ZVZ, but it's Serral, it's these guys, it's also ZVZ, which has so many different ways to play into that matchup. And honestly, if we go back in time and look at the very beginning of that game, or the mid game, I should say, Serral's decisions in the early game didn't really pan out, did they? I mean, his mutas didn't really do a whole lot. They maybe opened up an opportunity, but that big old Roach Max I was talking about, that opportunity didn't work out either. Like, I guess Serral was, I don't want to say super behind because, Lurker Viper can go either way, but
Right.
Serral may be unhappy with his choices in that game and the ultimate end result.
Yeah, he's definitely not happy with the ultimate end result there. A game that was tantalizingly close to victory. Unfortunately, Reynor snatching that away from him. We've got the countdown going now, though, into Everdream LE. Unsurprisingly, Golden Wall has been banned this matchup. I'm disappointed. I don't know about you, ZG. I love me some Golden Wall. But Everdream, going to be map number 2 here. Do you think this is the time for one of the players to bust out something quick, something cheesy, something unexpected?
It's too obvious. I mean, Reynor might, because Reynor is kind of that, let's say, confident guy, but I think it's too obvious.
Okay. I like the call. Well, let's hop in, guys, to our very second game of the series. It is going to be in the bottom left-hand side, in the blue, representing Finland and NC Sports. It's Serral.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Reynor. I love the player cams. It shows.
I was going to say, are you watching the player cams?
Yeah.
Yes. Serral is over there like casting an evil spell, just muttering to himself. And Reynor seems to be listening to some brand new Cardi B song, just bopping over there, like having a great time. What a massive difference there. Hopefully neither player feels, too tilted or too terrible or too pumped up about that game. But yeah, wow, Serral is talking to himself there quite a bit. A lot of head shaking going on. I rarely see him in that mental state.
Yeah, we see him talking to himself a decent amount, which makes him sound crazy, but that's what he does. So, that's not too surprising. He'll mutter a couple of things, even in games he wins, right? He clearly is upset that he didn't win it faster or harder or whatever. But I've never seen him so off.
He's usually not melancholy. He always looks determined to me when he's muttering. He's like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this. Whereas right now, and I don't want to project too much, who knows? But big size, bit of a glum look. Interesting. I gotta focus on the game, I guess. But I love these player cams, EG. They're so much fun.
They're working out, man. I don't know what it is. Maybe because they're at home, but I swear when this happens at an offline event, and you're like, yeah, we can finally see their extreme reactions. It's like we get one Drogo pounding the desk, and then that's it. The entire tournament, and you're like, oh, I guess it wasn't really worth it.
Sure.
You see paying off here.
Well, right now the build's looking very even here. Reynor maybe a millisecond ahead of Serral, but both players going for very standard play. Hatch gas pool, 2 queens on the way. No third bases yet, but those might be coming down sometime in the next minute or so. And ZG, if you see a ZVZ where both players are starting out absolutely identical, how much stock do you put into the fact? I know some people are like, okay, wow, Reynor's first 2 drones were 1 or 2 seconds ahead of Serral. That must mean Serral's washed up. He's in a terrible place. How much stock do you put in that people that were like, oh man, if they're doing mirror builds and one player's a millisecond or 2 ahead, that's a huge difference?
Well, I'm not a pro gamer casting, so I'm not really going to look into it that much.
Okay.
But if I was a pro gamer casting, I guarantee they'd say, well, it's the end of the game. I mean, Serral's
may as well just GG out now.
They do, I mean, to them, honestly, if they knew, right, if there was actually like map hacks allowed in production tab while you're playing the game, that would actually probably start to affect people. But
oh, sure.
There's too much variance in StarCraft 2, right? And that's what happens. That's why casters are pretty careful about saying like, well, maybes and should be's and could be's, not just because we're covering our own asses, but because it's just honestly how the StarCraft game is played. Like, well, he should be ahead. Sure. Oh no, he just lost all of his links to a Bane lane. Well, that happens.
There are 1 or 2 factors that may affect who wins this game, I think, CG.
Exactly. But I do think that it's nice that Reynor gets like this time to kind of, like Serral just needs to kind of chill out and get back into the zone because I know he's very capable of doing that. One thing that's consistent about Serral is not just his consistent play, but his consistent attitude towards the game.
Sure.
Yeah, he gets frustrated like the rest of us, but he doesn't really usually let it affect him so much that he gets 3-0'd. It affects him so much he might lose the series, but in a very close series. So I'm not too worried, and I think having just these 3 minutes to just be like checking around, not having to really worry about much, already is putting him back into the zone, but Reynor is clearly in the zone, and they are both doing kind of the normal stuff here. The evolution chamber is coming down to get a jump start on the +1 is very evenly timed, with Reynor just a tad in the lead, and no big Ling swells. First difference is a lair and an extra gas from Serral, a bit faster than Reynor, but I don't doubt that Reynor's right behind him.
Yep, and there it is. Gas is 2 and 3 going down for both of them here. So gas is 2 and 3, usually 3 gas indicating Roach speed as opposed to some sort of 3-base Spire play. I'd be very surprised to see a Spire down at some point. I like that Reynor hasn't really panicked and built anything yet. He's seen a fair amount of Lings out from Serral, but he hasn't built, like, I feel like sometimes we'll see certain players who will be worried about their Roach speed and lair timing coming up, and they'll build, 10 Banelings, and the Banelings will just stay back home and wait forever. Reynor not getting fooled, though, doing a really nice job. Just keeping tabs on Serral right now. And this game, just so close, CG. Both players, very similar builds here.
Very, very, very close. Good scout from Serral into the main base confirms just how close it is. Serral is, again, like, he's adding on the gases a bit faster than his opponent, but I don't think it's really going to signify either one going into a Spire necessarily. But there's Reynor going into the Spire, so... And he was a bit slower on the gases, so good job.
Right.
No. It's a choice that they can make, and Serral could also make the same choice. In fact, I'd love it if he also went for a Spire and they inadvertently got into a Muta versus Muta battle, but that's not either one's plans, really. Reynor's going to show Serral how it's done with this build. I mean, this game, no one lost a third hatch, right? So it's a bit different, but
right.
Mutas with actual more emphasis on the Roaches.
Yeah, the only difference right now I'm seeing is that Serral's finished up his Overlord speed, which should allow him a bit more mobility on the map and a bit more scouting information. He's sending that Overlord scout into the main base now. But of course, that Spire that Reynor threw down was at his third base. So I don't know if we can take a look at the third base of Reynor, but I don't think that Serral spot that Spire yet if we take a look. And that's going to be really difficult for him to deal with. Well, there it is. As I say it, Serral pops in, and that's a good timing. But man, Reynor is the king of slipping links into the main base. Look at that.
King of Lings. He's like the MVP King of Wings, but he's Reynor King of Lings. He does that pretty well. Doesn't really get anything, though. Serral very quick to respond. Was already on top of those Lings just from the get-go. Right. Also, with so much scouting going down from both sides, you don't really have to worry about anything else but those Lings. And actually, it's Reynor that has to worry a little bit. His Roach count was awfully low. He just built a round of 15, like now more popping out. So this isn't going to really snowball, but still a nice little, victory there for Serral, as he also scouted the Spire. He's trying to work on the Hydralisk end. Actually loses a couple of drones, so... actually went better for Reynor.
But it's still so smart from Serral, though, right? You've seen that Spire. You don't really have a response yet. He's just now getting his Hydras out, but trying to push across the map, put a little pressure on Reynor, force out some Roaches, which is not what Reynor wants to be spending his Larva or his gas or his minerals on right now. Really not bad from Serral at all there to force some of that out from Reynor. But Reynor, as you said, does have those 6 Mutas on the way, and it's just the reverse of last game, where Reynor's getting a handful of Mutas out. Not enough to really cause damage, but enough to just be a little bit frustrating to deal with for Serral.
I think Reynor's going to try and hit maybe like a harder attack than Serral did, just like a little bit faster with that maxed out army supply. I mean, he probably should again, but the difference would be that Serral is not going for just Hydralisk, or sorry, he is going for just Hydralisk, that's the way I wanted to put it. He's not going for an Intimidation Pit, as well as a Hive, plus a Lurker Den, which is all the things that Reynor was getting away with last game, even as Serral maxed out much faster than him. Serral is just adding on those Hydras, but as Reynor is trying to hit maybe an attack, it maxed out, Serral won't be too far behind. Yeah, Hydras are a bit more expensive, and they're more vulnerable if they're not behind Roaches, which speaks for what? God. Looks like the numbers are going to be good enough. As well as Serral having a +1 Carapace lead for this upcoming engagement. So now he just needs to realize it's happening, which he does, an Overlord right there, and get into position.
Very nicely sandwiched there by Serral. Going to pick off 2 Mutas, it looks like. Forcing Reynor back here. Serral wants to fight on creep if possible, but Reynor's going to be able to jump on top of him here. Corrosive Biles on both sides here. Not great dodges on the other side, actually. A lot of Corrosive Biles raining down there. Reynor is going to push back a nice concave, though, from Serral. And as you said, that +1 Carapace really, really going to pay off in this engagement, CG. And Serral's going to force Reynor all the way back there. I think Reynor still traded very effectively, but Serral taking a really nice fight.
Yeah, his Hydras were a little late to the party because they're chasing down those Mutas, but now finally that's over and done with. Serral's still a little bit lower on that army supply, but his army is it's theoretically better. The old Hydras in the back line, adding that DPS with that additional upgrade is supposed to be a very good addition, but sometimes the Corrosive Biles really go in Reynor's favor, but the Corrosive Biles so far not doing a good job of hitting. Reynor actually up against a really good concave from Serral, and those Hydras adding in just a little bit more DPS. Finally, a couple corrosive biles hit at the end there, but Reynor is not going to actually be able to pierce through. Not yet. He still can posture. He's still the one that's, remaxing faster.
Which is miraculous, because if we look at the resources lost tab, we'll see that Serral's slightly ahead here. Not as ahead as I thought he was going to be, but still about 1,100 minerals or 1,100 resources in favor of Serral this game. The Mutalisks just being a little bit annoying here. Another engagement, though, and it looks like every single one of these engagements has been very similar. Serral's had a superior concave on both the north and south flank, but Reynor's gotten a couple better corrosive biles onto Serral, which is surprising because Serral is amazing at dodging corrosive biles. I love that both players are going for burrowed roaches, though. You think Serral's burrowed roach timing is a little bit earlier than Reynor's? Do you think that's going to change the way this next fight happens, ZG?
Yeah, I think it's less about the research timings and more about how much they both feel comfortable burrowing those roaches. And Reynor, being the aggressor should feel more confident burrowing the roaches, going for those attacks. Now, it's something that Serral is already aware of. He saw the roaches and is going to take care of them. I think he figures they're both going to get tunneling claws with this kind of balancing act, the back and forth. It just seems like it's a good idea for both players. And, well, eventually the graphics will actually show as well on those roaches. So maybe we'll see some of the bank they've both accrued since they haven't really been fighting a whole lot. We might see that go into some static defense. In fact, I really wouldn't mind it. But sometimes these guys are so good, they just think, okay, well, I'll clobber him first so he doesn't have time to clobber me. And then they both end up just sending a bunch of roaches at each other. We'll see what happens. Serral's roaches are under the ground right now, but they are found by Reynor's Overseer. Nicely done.
Serral was trying to go for a triple-pronged harass there. He had one army up north, his main army in the middle, and that burrowed roach army in the south. Unfortunately, the south army gets destroyed, the north army gets caught, and now Serral going to get completely surrounded by Reynor here. Serral's got to get out of here if he doesn't want to lose the fight on both engagements here. Oh my gosh, a big fungal growth on the north side there. Those infestors paying off for Serral just a little bit, slowing Reynor down. But Reynor has a really nice engagement here. Even +2 Carapace not going to be enough to save Serral as Reynor pushes him back yet again.
That was a bit too good of a concave from Reynor. Serral was hoping for some juicier corrosive bile fungal combinations and did not find them. And now those infestors, I think they just both died as the Overseer was available. But Serral did not lose enough to just go ahead and get steamrolled. He's remaxing on a bunch of roaches. He started up his 3-3 upgrades, actually, and is working towards the Lurker Den as he finds a couple of drones with burrowed roaches. He's actually even pushing back through the middle. And very even game. Reynor has the bank and maybe a little bit more of the harassment as we see him get on top of this 5th base, but Serral's about to have the technology.
Yeah, those +3/+3 upgrades cannot be overstated. Remember, Reynor only just now working on +3/+1, so Reynor's Carapace is going to be way behind here in these Roach v Roach wars. Again, we see a similar engagement to the previous two. Serral split by the little doodad in the middle of the map, that plateau, separating his army into a north and south flank. This allows Reynor to focus fire down one flank at a time, but this time, Reynor doesn't have enough juice and is forced to retreat here. Finally, I think Serral's continued pressure on all these different locations is getting to Reynor just a little bit and forcing him to take inefficient engagements.
Just a little bit, yeah. Reynor is going to lose a couple of drones, but not really any catastrophe there. As they both are on 5 base and still in a very healthy drone count. I'm now more worried about Reynor's lack of hive tech, all right? It's not even that he doesn't have lurkers, it's that he also has not yet to make those Vipers, where Serral is really getting to the perfect Zerg army.
Yeah, and that I think is going to start paying off, not now, but 5 minutes from now. So we'll see if Reynor can win here. He does still have superior army supply, even though the army value is slightly in favor of Serral. And Reynor just keeps taking these inefficient fights there outside the 4th base of Serral. I feel like the two Roach armies have clashed there about 10,000 times, and Reynor is taking worse and worse trades every single time. It's like when two Protoss players are engaged in Rakshir, and Reynor just keeps getting the bead pushed closer and closer to him, Serral pushing him further away.
Reynor's taking some okay fights, taking out, care of some of those lurkers, but yeah, he's not really finding, like, large holes in Serral's defense. Where actually Serral is the one doing some better harassments, despite going into the, the lurkers, maybe more hydras. He still had enough roaches to send across the map, killing 15 drones and taking a lot of attention away as Reynor has to return home to deal with that. Reynor is simply fallen behind in the pacing of this game. He's fallen a little bit behind in the economy, but I'm so much more worried about the pacing. The lurkers are going to be absolutely brutal, and there are so many of them. They're all going to burrow at once. And concave is very good for Reynor, and Serral might once again overstep onto the other side of Everdream's choke. Actually, Reynor's concave is so good, he makes this look like an okay fight. When you look at the supply, Serral is still coming out ahead.
Yeah, that's one of those crazy fights where it really did look good for Reynor, but Serral somehow staying on top of things. The army graph going to show us that obviously Serral in a much more stable position this game. Sure, Reynor can clean up, but look at this. Serral's on 5 bases to Reynor's 4. Serral's on hive tech units, whereas Reynor has nothing. He's got 4 Vipers, and that's it. Yeah, Serral just ahead by just about every conceivable metric this game. ZG, what can Reynor do to come ahead and take an advantage in this game?
He can continue to be mobile and just continually catching Serral's lurkers a little bit unguarded, get that nice concave, take them out of the equation, and his army is still good enough to take fights. But if he's ever stuck in a position, if he ever has to retreat and then comes back and he's on a choke, for instance, that's when Serral gets the easy victory. Reynor needs to keep a calm head, kind of deal with these roach run-bys even more so. It's really starting to get to him, I'm sure. And then try and focus on taking a very good fight. But he is kind of running out of options. If he actually lets Serral not just through this choke, but actually like cement himself on top of Reynor's fourth, it's probably when Reynor just dies.
Unless you're a big fan of Reynor, check out the units lost tab right now, ZG. The drone count lost for Reynor right now is at 43 to, I believe, just the 4 for Serral. So we can see 46 now. Goodness gracious. We can see that Serral's run-bys may not all be like incredibly effective, but they're certainly paying off over time. And now the lurkers are being down. And we've talked about Pink Mist earlier in the series, but it looks like that's going to be happening at Reynor's third base as well.
Reynor makes a very risky call, but actually does push past the choke. So he kind of threatened attacking Serral's fifth. Serral had to respond, didn't want to initiate a weird base race, and is now on the defensive, which is at least going to give Reynor some room to breathe, but it would if he wasn't taking a lot of damage from roaches and lurkers. This would actually be an excellent move if he wasn't taking so much damage back at home, but he is. Now this is all in. I mean, it was already kind of a little bit desperate, but now it's really all in. Can Serral hold? Serral's lurkers are actually attacking, not helping out back here, but his Viper is landing some excellent blinding clouds, and hopefully he can just dodge out of the way of the corrosive vials. The army supplies are actually surprisingly even, and another blinding cloud. Oh, the blinding clouds are so brutal. But then Serral walks into his own blinding clouds. That's always a bit awkward. I think Serral's got this one.
Yeah, that was a really good fight for Serral, pushing Reynor back over and over again, out of position, unable to attack with the full brunt of his army, and all the combined pressure in the fifth base, in the fourth base, in the third base from Serral is going to start adding up over time, and I imagine we'll see a GG from Reynor quite soon. I think there's no way he can come back in this, being down one upgrade, being behind an army supply, and being behind an army composition as well. Again, the amount of high-value units in Reynor's army is 2. He has 2 Vipers, whereas Serral's on 4 Lurkers and 4 Vipers. And more Hydras than Reynor has as well.
I think Reynor's kind of hoping that Serral will get overeager and move in with just pure Hydra, and it gets really awkward because while, like, you know, Hydras have a lot of DPS, they're also glass cannons, so...
Right.
But I think that would really take Serral, like, literally kind of even regular moving into the army, you know, not paying attention, and then not leaving, which I can guarantee Serral is not going to do. Blinding Clouds once coming up, again coming down for both parties, but obviously in favor of Serral. GG, Serral fights back. Take map number 2.
And again, three series up, 3 series down, ZG. We're going into game number 3, tied up at 1-1. Guys, we need to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have game 3 of Serral and Reynor. You're watching the DreamHack Masters Fall 2020. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Serral versus Reynor. We're going into Game 3 on Eternal Empire, and so far the games have been pretty even, going into the macro game with lurkers and vipers and everything we would love to see from a ZVZ. It's probably couldn't get any better, Creighton, but Eternal Empire has lent itself to some pretty amazing macro games.
There is something about this map that makes Zerg macro just such an attractive option. Wide open space around the fourth bases, wide open paths into the third base attacks, just so much that can go right and so much that can go wrong for both players on Eternal Empire. And Zombie Grub, I cannot wait to see who comes out on top.
I cannot wait either. So let's already get into it because something's actually really interesting that's happening in the bottom left, going for a 12 gas, 11 pool. He is Serral.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side, it's our youthful Italian player from Clash Gaming. Give it up for Reynor.
Cool. On the most macro of macro maps, that's what I was hyping up, and boy was I wrong. Serral going for some cheese here is not what Reynor would be expecting. It's something he has to be aware of, but after 2 long macro games, have you forgotten that Serral can also do a little bit of cheese?
I know Reynor has not forgotten that, and I really, really hope that it doesn't catch him too much by surprise. But, oh, look at the build that Reynor's going for here. Hatch, gas, into pool. About the worst build you could go for, short of like 3 hatch, which doesn't really exist anymore. Ling speed already on the way here, and no scout for Reynor. ZG, does Reynor have a prayer?
I mean, most defenses against early pools, so I would say, still happen off of a hatch first. You know, it's always best, it's always most ideal when it's a pool first, but considering that is the more of a counter to the potential than it is the regular old opening, yeah, I'd still say that most defenses happen off of this. So Reynor gotta show some fancy tricks, I think, to actually combat this one. His Overlord still has not seen the Lings. He's still building drones, and well, it gets worse every second. He's still not gonna figure it out. Still no Lings reveal themselves just now as they hit the natural hatchery. Oh, Reynor, what's the reaction here? I mean, he's gonna pull the drones in and not take damage from the initial Lings, but he still doesn't actually know which, early pool this is exactly. And he's gonna see even more Lings. Now his Overlords are seeing the lack of hatchery, and he's going to be like, oh no. How do I defend against this one?
Yeah, double Banes on the way now, and I don't think Reynor knows. Well, he doesn't know about the Baneling nest yet either. Hasn't spotted those Banelings morphing, and if the drones see it, that's actually big for Reynor. He's going to see those the Banelings coming down. That'll allow him to split a little bit more. He's taking a very aggressive posture there, but nice initial Bane hits there from Reynor. 5, 7 drones down already, and the Ling count for Reynor barely on top of Serral. Oh, nice surround by Serral on the Queen there.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much over. I mean, maybe he's going to be able to cancel the Banelings, but how would that ever happen? There's going to be so many more Lings for Serral. More Banelings are being made. Serral is completely all in here, and Reynor just was not anticipating it. I mean, it's going to be a good reminder for Reynor that Serral can do stuff like this, but it's a very harsh reminder.
Very harsh indeed as the Banelings come into the main base now. I think Reynor's just buying himself some time, thinking about his mistakes, and preparing for the next game. GG, and Zombie Grub, after 2 insane macro games back and forth, we finally get ourselves a little bit of Gouda here on the cheese plate at DreamHack Fall Masters.
Indeed. It's not the obvious map like an Everdream, but on one of the least obvious maps, and Reynor just simply wasn't going to be preparing for that. I mean, mentally he wasn't prepared, I would say, and then the actual game plan there is almost always going to be a hatch first. I've seen some defenses off of it, if you can kind of catch the Banelings, if maybe your drones pull into the Lings and they take a too soon fight, they lose all the Lings and then their Banelings come in, it can be a little bit awkward. Maybe if you can save that natural Queen and put her on the ramp, but it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the thing that kills what Reynor does. And it's very, very dedicated, so if Reynor was going to go for a pull first, could have been tough stuff, but I'm totally with Serral. It seems so unlikely that Reynor is going to pull first against him on that map, or kind of ever.
Yeah, I feel like hindsight is 20/20, but that did seem like a brilliant move, waiting until game 3, playing 2 big macro games, and then surprising him on a map that he wouldn't expect that all in. So we'll see what happens here on our map number 4, going to be Pillars of Gold LE, as our Finnish phenom Serral is now 1 map away from advancing on to that winner's final.
I think Destiny has a say in these types of situations, though. Like, basically,
is he still doing StarCraft?
Game 5. No, not that guy. Screw that guy. No, like the actual god, like the all-being, all-knowing destiny. Okay,
Yes.
like whatever that idea is. All right. It says that there has to be a game 5, so I'm just gonna assume that Reynor wins this one.
I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't bet against it, CG, for sure. Let's hop into our series here. Map number 4 is Pillars of Gold, LE. Our first player in the top right-hand side in the red, representing Italy and delicious pizza everywhere. It is Clash Gaming's Reynor.
In the bottom left, getting that quick victory in the last game, it is Serral.
Now, CG, what's your favorite kind of cheese like in real life? Like if you have to eat a cheese on a cheese board, what do you gravitate toward?
So it depends on what I have it paired with, but
Okay.
since going to France, I've really appreciated like really, you know, what's the word? Not sour, like very strong blue cheese.
Like a
with
pungent blue?
Yeah, like a sweet white wine. That's where.
Okay.
That. Yep.
Oh, that's a bold choice. Like a strong blue with a sweet white wine?
Yeah, it's delicious
Oh.
actually. I went to
I like that.
wine wine and cheese pairing thing with my mom, and it was very enlightening. It was awesome. So
That sounds very classy. I'm on board with that. I love a good strong blue as well. Good taste over there. I like it. Unfortunately for us cheese lovers, there's none happening here in game number 2, CG. It looks like both players go in hatch gas pool, again mirror builds, or probably in the run for another longer game this time around.
Yeah, a little bit too dangerous, I think, for Reynor to immediately clap back. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like maybe if that was game 1 and this is game 2, like maybe then, but not when he's already on match point. So yeah, you can kind of guess they're both going to go for hatch first, and indeed they both are. So this was the correct call from Reynor. Worst case scenario is that he's like now really scared of Serral and he starts pool firsting like every other game, or the rest of the games I should say, and then just is like automatically behind. He would absolutely do it against the worst player. Reynor would have done pool first in every game against a guy like Bly for multiple reasons, right?
Sure.
But against Serral, we are literally like with the way these guys pair up against each other and the place they have in just the world standings, we are actually talking about like, oh, that is a severe problem if you do not have the same macro startup as your opponent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not just respect, but it's also wanting to win the game outright. And you don't want to do one of those cheese strategies that give you like a 60-40 chance of winning when you can play a long macro game that really relies on your skills. I feel like people often ask me, ZG, they say, oh, Creighton, who do you cheer for in StarCraft? Who do you want to win? And my answer is a little bit lame, but I always say, like, I just want a good game. I want a player who wins. I want that player to have won based on something they did correctly. Like, I hate seeing a game when a player either goes for some kind of crazy cheese or just makes a huge mistake and loses immediately. Those games always feel unsatisfying to me. So I'm really glad to see both these guys going for a third base and really starting to macro up a bit more.
Well, Serral is going to do something a little bit potentially cheesier, more aggressive, let's put it that way, because there's a lot of debate about what cheese is. So he's going to go for a decent number of lings and skip the Baneling Nest. Now, I would say most commonly this goes into the follow-up all-in. Doesn't necessarily have to, but that's certainly what I see the most of. So Reynor is going to have to kind of clue into this, and that could be difficult to do because they could be making lings just to coordinate with a Baneling Nest and apply that pressure. But actually, Reynor gets into the natural base, sees that there's a Roachborn Evolution Chamber, is a little bit more alerted to the follow-up potential, still has to worry about the right here, right now. He needs to defend his third hatchery.
Right. I was about to ask, does Serral make any more drones this game? But I think that question's now been answered for us. A couple more drones coming in. Serral realizing he's been spotted. ZG, do you think he still tries to put this pressure on, or do you think he changes tack now and just goes to try and macro behind this?
So Serral grabs a +1 Carapace. The Evolution Chamber could have been even like a fake, or maybe like not even what he's going to base his timing off of. But with the Carapace, I do believe that he's going to get enough roaches to defend, maybe even threaten Reynor. Like, I got roaches. But I actually think he's going to be waiting for that +1 Carapace to finish up. So Reynor's going to have to really be clued in, basically, like getting some excellent scouting, which he will, as he has made a lot of lings and is now attacking back at Serral. And Serral does not want to lose his base, but it's already going to have to with no Banelings on his side. There is no way to delete the lings off of his third hatchery, and that is a very powerful blow. As maybe Serral now is going to try and just do the attack. It's going to be so odd, though. Only with halfway done +1 Carapace, he's got to do something.
Yeah, he's been put into a really awkward position right now. Now, the Roach Warren for Reynor's not finished up yet. Of course, he wasted so much on, or used so much of his time and energy on the Baneling Nest instead, and of course has a lot of Banelings out on the field. So this will be an opportunity for Reynor to get some damage done, but it's going to take, I mean, unbelievably immaculate control, especially since Reynor does not have that Baneling Nest. There's no splash damage at all. Banelings aren't great against Roaches, but against this core of Lings that Serral has, he's just got to micro so much harder than Reynor does.
Is Reynor, I mean, I feel like Reynor should have picked up on what could happen here. I feel like if he's undefended from this attack, I would be shocked. Reynor stopping at 47 drones is perfectly reasonable for what is happening and what he should be guessed is happening.
Right.
Guessing is what's happening. So I think he's going to be okay. I mean, I don't want to call it too soon because it's definitely not hype, not exciting. But what did I say, man? Like fate had a hand in this, okay? Reynor bopped the third hatchery, immediately made this a bit weaker for Serral, a little less macroable too if he got just enough damage, and has done some excellent scouting as well. So Reynor, just pump out those roaches. Can he get them in time? I think so. Spinecrow is also trying to finish up here. Queens have already been pulled forward. He starts +1 missile. Okay, that seems a little bit overeager, but I guess he's confident.
Very confident play from Reynor there as +1 missile attack starts off. Of course, Serral will have the advantage in these roach fights. He's got that +1 carapace, hoping his roaches stay alive a little bit longer. And he does have a huge Ravager number, 5 Ravagers out to the 0 of Reynor. But Reynor has 8 more roaches on the way. He has defender's advantage. Unless Serral can break through right now, he's so far behind economically that I just don't see a way out of this for him here. Nice canceling of the spine crawler going down. Gonna get replanted there. Probably will finish up. And it looks like Reynor's health is fairly easily CG.
Yeah, it looks like a hold to me. Even cancels the rooting so he can dodge out with the spine crawler. Ravagers are pretty important factors to engagements, but also defender's advantage is a perfect defense against this. Just the faster rallying of Reynor's reinforcements really kicking in there to overcome the Ravager count of Serral, and now Serral has to try and macro out of this. But with the loss of the third hatch, he's been down in economy, he's literally been down in drones, he's down in technology. The one thing he has is that superior upgrade. And I mean, it's a cliche, but if anyone could bring it back, it would be Serral. But his attack did not work. And again, if he hadn't lost that third hatch, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I guess take this, yeah, okay, macros out of it. But losing a third hatch and not dealing really any economic damage to his opponent, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough place for him to be. Not just that his income or his economy's behind. He's even on drones now. In fact, going to be ahead on drones against Reynor quite soon. But most importantly, if you look at his tech, he's at 8 minutes now, and that's when his lair tech is going to finish. Is at about 8 minutes, which means he's just so far behind. We see roach speed already finishing up for Reynor here, and as soon as Reynor's +1 missile attack is finished, he can really muster up a pretty decent attack if he wants to. But that's the thing, Reynor doesn't really have to put any pressure right now on Serral.
It'd be really difficult to as well. Like, he would have the better army with the amount of roaches he should be able to pump out ahead of his opponent. But with Serral having still so many Lings that have an armor upgrade, not an attack, but still, that's always going to constantly threaten the run-bys. And that's something that Serral is going to use to try and at least give him some wiggle room here. He actually has droned up really hard, actually way harder than Reynor did. I thought Reynor was going to keep the drone lead, but he is not. Only still at 50 workers. Going for more of the attack, I suppose, with +2 not done. And those Lings, I just mentioned them being the constant threat. Did one Bailey just kill every Ling? Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened, CG. If we take a look at the army supply graph, we're going to see a sharp drop there for Serral. Oh, poor guy. He's going to be forced to remake here, but this engagement just got a lot better for Reynor and Zombie Gruff. I think your Oracle skills are correct here. Game 5 might very well be on the horizon as GG comes down, and Reynor draws the series even 2-2. Oh man, Serral does not look happy. Ooh.
I'm afraid my Oracle skills also kind of like caster cursed Serral right there. I was like, well, these Lings would be really big guys, and then a single Veiling just takes everything out. Like, whoops, my bad. Yeah, that's going to be it for Game 4. So that means another Game 5 between these two Titans. We wouldn't want anything less, right? Like, I'm so excited for this one. We'll see what happens in Game 5 after this break.
Ladies and gentlemen, Finns and Italians, StarCraft fans, the world across. Welcome back to DreamHack Fall Masters 2020. I'm Creighton Olsen, joined of course by Zombie Grub, ZG. We totally called this. Game 5, Reynor Serral. I'm on Cloud 9 right now.
I mean, whoever suspected it wouldn't be a game 5 is just kind of silly, like, to be honest. So, I actually don't remember what word he predicted. He predicted 3-2.
I think I predicted 3-1 actually, so I think I might be one who looks foolish right now.
I'm making fun of you then.
Yeah, that's totally fine. We're both on camera at the same time. It's like I'm in the room. You can make fun of me in that case. But man, game 5, and I was just noting in the break, game 5, ZG, Submarine LE, the tiniest map of the map pool. Oh, what a wild map to end things on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's going to be the early pool shenanigans. It seems like a little bit too obvious, but yeah, it's not going to be. I'm already in game. But I am worried as to what could happen after this. The shorter maps just mean that momentum carries so much more. Oh! Oh! Reynor!
Is it happening? It's happening. It's happening. Get in here, everybody. Okay, let's introduce our players real quick, like spawning in the bottom right-hand side in the red, representing Italy in Clash Gaming. It's Reynor.
That last second decision, man. Oh, in the upper left, as the blue Zerg, he is Serral.
He's hatch gas pooling at CG. He's hatch gas pooling at CG. It's like the reverse of game number 3. It's everything my little Zerg heart could have hoped for. Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this, you know, I want to say that's Reynor's not going to commit to this a whole lot. But I am waiting. I am going to wait to see if the drones are also pulled. Yep. Serral, oh man, it'd just be so obvious to do this attack. He does go for pool then gas, like a very slight difference. And then that means, oh, did he go up to 18 drones? I think he still did, but I mean, yeah, such a slight difference. The drones are not going to be pulled. Okay, this is a starter. Like, I hope I get a good start build, which he might just get. We'll see what Serral's reaction is, how good his drone micro is. This is the shortest rush distance of the map pool. Good, like 4 seconds shorter than most of the other maps. Like Everdream, for instance. It's gonna be a tough hold.
It definitely is, and the worst part is that even if Reynor doesn't completely knock down the natural, right? Even if the natural's still alive from Serral at the end of this, if Reynor can knock it down to half health or a third health or something, it makes it such a juicy target for later in the game. So Serral is going to let it finish, but already we see that health down to about 3/4 for Serral. And Serral not pulling anything to respond to this. He's making eight circlings of his own. There we go. The drones finally come down to try and defend. But wow, look at the damage already here.
Yeah, you gotta wait till the last second, but you also can't wait too long in case they do end up sniping it. But you want to always be with your lings, right? So the lings come through. So far, no drones have been killed, I do believe, and this actually might have been a perfect hold. Okay, one drone did go down, but with so many weak, this one, like Reynor wants more than just the one.
Oh yeah, one's not going to feel very satisfying right now. It's like eating a Kit Kat. You can't just have one of them. You got to have all 4 of them to feel completely satisfied. So Serral is going to defend this. The drone pull actually really nice. He's able to realign those drones back onto the natural. And so he's lost some mining time, but not an egregious amount or anything. And now Serral's going to find himself in a pretty solid position here. His natural's finished up a little bit earlier. He's got his queens out earlier. But the big problem right now is that his natural is at about 1/3 health, which means a couple Ravager Corrosive Biles, a couple Roach Shots, and if one Zergling sneezes on it, that natural could fall, ZG.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's a little bit scary, as I guess you're not quite sure if he did follow up with that gas, but I feel like at this point, Serral knows it's not going to be that gas follow-up. He sees no army, an OP number of drones with a natural 2 before that Ling died. I think he's feeling confident, but we'll see what both players do after this. I mean, Reynor starts up his gas obviously a lot later, we know that, and might actually just head on into roaches as opposed to try and catch up on the speed. That could be a tricky game to play against someone who does have speed, which Serral's going to allow his to finish, probably just go into that +1 missile. No eagerness on either side to add a Baneling Nest, which also I guess means no fear on either side.
That is true, actually. Eagerness and fear, like 2 sides of the same coin here when you're thinking about Banelings in a ZVC. Oh, I really like that. That's good. Roach Warren down first for Reynor. He's also getting his Evo Chamber, but his Evo Chamber going to be way behind Serral. So if Serral starts a +1 upgrade quite soon, he's going to be in good shape. But whoa, ZG! Reynor also adding on a Baneling Nest. He's staying on 2 bases. He's going to push in here.
Yeah, he's hiding that Bailey nest as well. So Serral's going to see this and think, okay, he's going to try and skip speed. I'm going to get a faster third hatch, and then I'm going to get ahead that direction while he gets to a safer third later on. That would be incorrect. Lings and Banelings are going to be making their way over across the map alongside maybe a handful of roaches, and it's going to be really hard for Serral to scout this. One sign could be a lacking Jiggly Wiggly on the evolution chamber, but it's really hard to get in that close, and it's also easy enough to fake.
Right.
As Reynor does start it up, maybe he does keep it. Maybe this is going to be a lane Baneling attack into a Roach game. But if that is the case, then he definitely wants to at least get that third. But, oh, this is still very dangerous. Even if it's like a total 2-base all in, this many Lings is still extremely dangerous, as Serral also never got his own Baneling nest. But he also has a lot of Lings. Like, this is already a better scenario for Serral than I think Reynor was hoping for.
Yeah, a very interesting spot here for both players. Man, those Lings get across the map so dang fast. It's just unfair on Submarine. It's crazy fast. I love having smaller maps in the map pool like this, just because it opens the gateways for this, or opens the gates for this crazy early game aggression. I love it. Now, ZG, we do see Reynor with +1 missile and Serral with +1 carapace. Is that a wash in a Roach versus Roach fight?
Roach versus Roach, it's wait, is it more effective for the roaches? I'm actually unsure, but I'm more focused on the carapace finishing up where these Banelings hit the Lings, of course. That's the most commonly explained dynamic. The Lings, do survive past the Baneling stage. Nice snipe by the Queens, and while this was happening, Serral actually was able to deny a third hatch. That's actually a kill, not a cancel. He ended up losing the Lings to a Baneling that was left at home, but that kill is really good for Serral.
Yeah, man, that third base, man, I can't believe a kill there. Huge mistake from Reynor there, and that just shows the kind of pressure these guys are under right now not to be able to hit that cancel button as your third base is taking damage. So now I guess Reynor's going to keep his pedal to the metal. He's making a couple more drones and finally adding on his own Roach Warren. It just feels like he's behind in almost every metric here. No third base, a little bit ahead on drones, but everything else, it seems like Reynor's going to really be struggling this game.
He already has a Roach Warren. He's just kind of a little bit on autopilot right
building
now.
A second one, yeah.
Yeah, 150 minerals, that's not really necessary in a pretty bad situation to spend that much. Serral did go up to a lair, but with that +1 carapace finishing, I think he sees an opportunity to maybe push across the map. It's a bit dangerous though, right? Because without any Banelings back at home, Reynor could do what I guess Serral was supposed to do last game, and actually do a counterattack that works. So Serral is going to stay at home, set up his Lings for a bit of a run by again, and that is probably the safest option you could choose. I do then expect to see a Roach upgrade. I mean, still no Roach speed, right? So now I'm like, wait, is he going to go for a Spire? No way. I can't do Spire on this map.
I highly doubt this will happen, ZG, but I do remember one game in DreamHack Masters Fall. I believe it was Lambo, who also kind of accidentally got 2 Roach Warrens, and then he upgraded both Roach speed and Burrow Tunneling Claws at the same time out of both Roach Warrens, and we were very impressed. Whether it was intentional or not, we were both like, all right, if you're gonna grab a second Roach Warren, you gotta do both upgrades at the same time.
Dude, this is crazy. I was thinking it's like Serral because he didn't start Roach speed. I was like, oh, is he gonna do something weird? But it's actually Reynor going for the Spire, despite having the double Roach Warren.
What is this?
That is so funny.
What is this game 5?
Oh, I actually don't mind the decision for either player. I'm obviously nervous for whatever player chose to do it. I mean, I think if Reynor could get to mutas, it would give him more room to breathe than he would have normally, because Serral does have the better army potential with the +1 on the way alongside the carapace. Plus, he's already building up those roaches. His economy was a bit stronger until literally just now. Like, it's a bit frightening, but he's buying a lot of time. He's seeing the roaches always move back home, so while the Lings look threatening, like, okay, they're on my side of the map, it's not all of Serral's army. Reynor is going to actually be able to get to these mutas, and Serral, now he needs to scout it. Now we need to talk about the opposite problem, the Serral's problem, right? Like, he hasn't scouted the Spire, and the Overseer just died.
Well, and this is a huge problem right now for Serral. It's not just that he hasn't scouted, but if you do scout, then you know that you need to move out a specific time, because right now Reynor had been saving up, right, for a lot of Mutos. Mutos very expensive, 100 each. So there's a period in time, it reminds me a lot of like when Protoss players go into carriers, where there's a period of weakness as you're getting this tech up and getting those units out, where the other player really does have a good opportunity, a power spike to your power lull. And it looks like Serral might be trying to hit this, but already the Mutas from Reynor are out, and Serral has missed a bit of a window there where he could have hit a lot harder than he's going to hit now.
His Overseer's first thing to scout. He's going to try and go for the attack anyways. He always has to buy time. If his Lings can actually get into every nook and cranny, every base, then he could do a heck of a lot of damage. But that natural is actually already holed up. The drones have been pulled off the third. Reynor is also doing his own run by. He's actually doing the economic damage first before Serral can even do his. I mean, Reynor might lose the third base, but he will have muted to try and take control of the map after this. The Lings of Reynor are also finally getting cleaned up. Serral is going to sacrifice a lot of his army to do this. But it might just be the better call. I mean, Serral's going to be producing Queen. The list is going on. And Reynor is not producing more mutas. He's going back into roaches, which I don't know if that's actually going to find much damage, much like advantage in this game.
No Spore Crawlers, only 3 Queens out for Serral right now. These Mutalisks have a really golden ticket to get across the map and try and get damage done. Overlords are nice to snipe, but my God, Reynor, get on top of some of those, Queens, get on top of the drone lines, do some sustainable economic damage, not just the one-off army damage. And we see already Serral now adding on those Spores, adding on more Queens, and now Reynor's finally adding on more Mutalisks. Zombie Grub, it feels a bit schizophrenic from Reynor to build the mutas, build the roaches, build the mutas. I expect we'll see roaches after this based on his pattern.
You know, especially when he was pulling those drones away, I thought he was going to go all in on the muta idea, and I was like, I guess that's actually a pretty good idea. But then feeling the necessity of cleaning things up, he was making roaches and then just kept on making roaches, I guess. I mean, maybe going back to the mutas will still work out, but it's going to be tough. These Lings are still so potent with their +1 carapace, getting another cancel on the hatchery that was killed from the main attack. This is going to be a tough game for Reynor, but mutas do make tough games a little more bearable, right? They really complicate things, even if your opponent starts to defend them.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, CG. Mutas are sort of like a calming influence on a game where they can threaten damage, so Serral has to stay back home to make sure he can defend against it. They can pick off Overlords so you lose your map presence so you don't feel as comfortable attacking. So they really can extend a game quite a bit longer than it otherwise should. And honestly, Reynor's done a decent job not losing those drones. We saw that pull from the third base earlier where he's able to save every single drone at his third base. He's now getting a fourth base down. That one looks like it's going to get canceled as well, but he's trying to double expand. And the income graph actually for these two players slightly in favor of Serral, but remember that income advantage graph is gradiated with the sides, so it adjusts dynamically based on how much they've lost. So even though it looks like a big spike for Reynor, it's only about 500-600 resources per minute that he's ahead.
Reynor once again not canceling a fourth base this time. Range of minerals down the drain. He was focusing so much on the mutas, which are trying to find a lot of damage, but I mean, even as they find queens, it's like, is that really the damage you want to get? You know, it only really matters, it feels like, when you snowball effects, when it's suddenly not enough queens, when you kill drones too.
Right.
A queen here and there is not going to be enough, but Reynor is just going all in on the muta idea, which I do prefer. I think this is the best call to try and bring back a game. And then maybe he can get to roaches, but it feels so much better if he had his third up much longer than he's had it, as well as if that fourth base was not just killed. I do think double expanding makes sense. Serral's Lings are still doing a lot of damage.
And no extra Banes out from Reynor. Right now he has 0 Banelings on the map, which is a little surprising because he knows these Lings are still out here. So even having a pocket Baneling at your fourth base or a couple at your third might be a way to sort of deter Serral from getting even more pressure on. I like that Reynor's going for a fourth base. He's adding on Baneling speed, so his Banelings are going to be that much more effective during the game. But I don't know, ZG. I like the Mutalisk transition. I really do. And I know hindsight is 20/20, but I feel like Reynor should have done it about 3 minutes before he did it.
Yeah, I still am like, oh man, what if he didn't make those, 15 extra roaches and it was just creating mutas? Maybe it's a little bit more of a snowball effect. I still think Serral ultimately defends, but yeah, his like Spore Claws were a little late, his Queen count was a little low. Bunch of maybes there, but yeah. Reynor's trying to think about what he can do right here, right now to defend. I mean, it's such a short map that like usually you'd be talking about the complications of getting across the map with the slower army that Serral has, but on Submarine it's not short. It doesn't take very long. And even if the mutas were to do a run by, counterattack, like the Hydras could actually respond pretty quickly, even without speed. Reynor is going to have a couple of Banelings with Baneling speed, about 20 actually, it's not bad, but he's got to hope that every single one hits every single Hydra, and I don't think that's going to happen. Both of them are maxed out, but Serral's army is superior in upgrades and composition. This would have to be an amazing fight for Reynor.
It really would. These Banelings need to get unbelievable shots. And unfortunately, with no flanking army behind this, it just doesn't look quite like Reynor's going to have enough. He is going to try and come up the side here, but that just means that Serral has 2 easy armies to destroy one by one instead of one big army to fight. Now, the Mutalisks are going to get all these Hydras out, so the Hydra count gets completely reset here. And even though Reynor took a lot of damage that fight, these Mutalisks are actually looking really good here. Going to be able to chase those roaches all the way back home.
I actually can't believe he took on every single Hydra. The Banelings didn't exactly get amazing connections, but it was just barely enough with the Muta count being barely high enough. And also, I think +1 finishing that attack, and now +1 melee is going to finish too. Reynor is holding on, but it is constantly desperate. Serral's reinforcements come across this map so damn quickly. 6 more Banelings are on the way. The Muta count back up to 16. The upgrade to finish up for Reynor. Maybe it'll be even a better fight. It's actually the armies, all types are clumped up. It still is a last-second split into a concave from Reynor, but Serral's supply suddenly is actually not looking so hot. Wait, what has happened? Reynor now has 30 more army supply as Serral pulled his queens into this. Is pretty all in, and actually Serral is the one to tap out of this game? What happened? What?
He does it! He does it! The Banelings at the very end, ending things for Clash Gaming's